Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, that is the Better Software Company. They're on a mission. This is what I love about their company, on a mission to help small business owners because small business matters. The Better Software Company created B Pro, a simple integrated solution that provides all the functionality that a small business needs with none of the complexity of all these other systems that are offered by other companies. They meet the needs of small business for accounting, scheduling, CRM, dispatch, so if you have mobile trucks, point of sale systems, order processing, inventory, time management. They'll even help you with your website. And they have more stuff that they offer, but the list would just be too long for me to read. I want to personally thank the team at B Pro for powering this podcast. They help the show, and I want to help you help yourself by reaching out to the Better Software Company and at least getting started and seeing what they have to offer. There's no contracts, none of that. You can get started today at thebettersoftwarecompany.com. Tell them that Jimbo sent you from the Auto Detailing Podcast, and they're going to give you some freebies. And by the way, I've had a few questions lately as to whether or not I actually use this product in my day-to-day business, and I do. I actually used B Pro for about 6 months before we even entered any talks about sponsoring the show, because I wanted to make sure it was a bulletproof, soundproof software that I could actually use, implement, and be profitable with, even more profitable than any of the other systems that I currently had used at the time. So I've been an active user for well over a year now, and I encourage you to incorporate it into your business. They have an app now, better scheduling. It's awesome. So check them out at thebettersoftwarecompany.com, and just make sure you tell them I sent you. On to the show. Today, I'm super excited. We have Chris West from Solution Finish. He's the founder of Solution Finish, and it's an incredible product that restores originally black surfaces to a deep, rich black finish without the wet look. And it dries quickly with no greasy residue, which is super exciting. So we're going to take a deep dive into it. Chris, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jimbo.
Yeah.
Love your studio. You did a great job.
Cool. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into your product specifically, and we are going to take a deep dive into that and what you got coming out and all that fun stuff, but let's go back to the very beginning. How'd you get started in this? And kind of give us a background on both you personally and then how that kind of developed into you getting involved with the auto detailing industry.
Oh, cool. I thought this was going to be a interesting program, but if you want to start with me first.
Well, it may not be interesting to you, but for someone who's never heard it before, it may be interesting.
Fair enough. Well, actually, I'm a licensed general contractor, builder, developer for 35 years. I build some of the nicest homes in Southern California. I get the plaques on the wall. I got all the trophies. And through the years of building and developing, I owned a piece of property, and I built and designed and operated a coin-operated car wash. Well, that led into a whole new business for me, a whole new venture, and I ended up building 6 coin-operated car washes. I ended up owning, operating them, and running those car washes for 6 years daily. So I literally saw tens of thousands of DIY, do-it-yourself guys going into the car washes and all the various techniques and all the ways they wipe their cars, clean their cars. And the one thing that always came up was, hey, what can we do about the plastic? You know, this is turning gray, chalky, dried out, it's cracking. And even in those days, I had the little vending machine that had the little Armor All packs, 75 cents. They drop and they put it on everything. But as we know, that doesn't last. The silicone-based product like that, it gases off in 3 or 4 days. It's back to the way it looked when they treated it. And I started getting an idea about how to do it different. And I started playing with it, and then life kept on going. I built some other houses, and I forgot about it. And years later, the market slowed down. I had 7 custom houses on the market. Only one sold. They're $4.5 million houses, and one sold. Even today, we only sold one of them. We have 6 of them leased. So, long story short, I sat in my garage and set up a little mad scientist lab, and started playing with my formula. And after 6 months, came up with this solution finish formula, and the rest is history.
So did you have any background in like chemistry or mixing products, or how did you even know what to start with?
Well, none that I can talk about on the radio. That's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll add in a laugh. I thought you were being serious. I'm like, maybe he doesn't want to give his
No, I'm not as smart as some people. So I had to do a lot of reading, and I was fortunate not to have any chemistry background, because the problem was guys that think in the box. They think the same way. They know what goes together, what doesn't go together. They know the science behind it. Well, I'm not as smart as some people, so I read 4,000 pages of how plastic oxidizes, why it oxidizes, what actually takes place, and I started putting together chemicals that don't go together, and I had hundreds and hundreds of failures. But what I knew I was on the right track when I started putting my early formulas on plastic, and I got a deep, rich black look without any dyes, inks, or stains. And based on that, I got the help of 2 or 3 actual chemists, and more for being able to get the ingredients that you can't sell on the internet. And guys would say, "Hey, look, it's not that Chris thinks out of the box. Chris was never in the box in the first place." And we kept on telling him, these don't go together, these don't work together, they're opposites, and really I proved him wrong after hundreds of failed tests. And because if you got the look right, it didn't last. If you got it to last a long time, it was too hard to work with. So it was kind of like the Edison deal. I had thousands of failed attempts before I nailed it down to solution finish. So no background in chemistry or science, but I had an idea, and I went with it.
I was just going to say, being outside of the box puts you in good company. And my first one I was going to say is Thomas Edison, then Henry Ford, thinking outside the box with cars. Steve Jobs, look at what he did to the mobile computing industry, and these guys that maybe some of them knew a lot about mixing stuff or a lot about their craft, but they refused to stay inside of the box. And that's such an encouragement to me, and should be an encouragement to guys listening right now, because it's so much easier to stay in the box. And you could have listened to those guys and said, Chris, you can't put those 2 chemicals together, that'll never work. But instead you said, man, whatever, I don't know anything about anything. What do I have to lose by mixing these things? And sure, you're going to have a ton of failures, but that's just part of the process. And look at what happened. You designed a phenomenal product.
It's true. Well, real quick story. I had my lab set up in the garage, a big three-car garage, and it was completely full. Well, I had this little cauldron, a little plastic container that I would dump all my failed experiments in, because I did it in shot glasses, and I did it in very small samples. Well, anything that didn't work, I would pour into this barrel. Well, I needed to make room for a little box, so I put my hand, and I'm going to push the little barrel over a few inches. Well, I touched it, and I pulled my hand back. It was hot, and I touched it again, and I looked in, and it was like bubbling, like a little cauldron of toxic chemicals. And I'm looking at this little drum, and it's like 3 inches smaller than it normally was, and 3 inches wider. It was literally melting from the inside out. and I called my scientist and I told him what I had. And he goes, "No, wait, Chris. Okay, you're not in a residential area, are you?" Well, yeah, I'm in my garage in the neighborhood, and he panicked. He's saying, "Well, what's in it?" I said, "Well, I got some benzoate. I've got some sulfate, and I'm telling him the difference." He goes, "Oh, geez, you mean everything I've been sending you is in there?" And so, I ran down the store. We got a bunch of baking soda. We got some soda water, and he had me, soften it, and we mixed it up and kind of made it, neutralized it, and then I had to take it and get rid of it. So that was my first experience with some things. Thinking out of the box can hurt you if you're not smart and careful. So it was very funny.
The thing I pulled out of that is all good companies start in the garage.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, there's a company called Back Industries. They make tonneau covers, and Lauren and that whole crew, they started in their garage building one for a truck, and they just sold to a huge conglomerate for millions and millions of dollars. And we talk about how he just had some ideas and started bolting things together and turned it into an empire. So I don't know, maybe the good fortune would be that those early days is going to give my family something down the road to really start something here.
Definitely. So your product is one that if anyone's listening and they're not clear on what your product does, everyone's seen the gray, faded out, oxidized bumpers, and your product is applied to that bumper and makes the bumper look brand new. So before we get into how your product does that, why don't we talk a little bit about why bumpers oxidize? Why don't they just stay black and look new forever?
Ooh, good question. And for detailers that are listening and they follow this is good to know when you're talking to a customer and you're explaining to them what you're going to do to their plastic and why it happens. Here's the nuts and bolts of it. Plastic does not oxidize. It's the impurities that's in the plastic that oxidizes. You don't see let's say a M16 rifle in Afghanistan all gray and chalky and like a avalanche bumper. It still maintains this black look. The stock, the handle, everything. Same thing with a Glock. It's pure plastic. So what happens is the impurities, UV radiation, heat, oxygen starts burning out the impurities that's mixed in with the plastic, and when it burns out, it leaves little microscopic pores in the plastic. Well, it will keep on going. The oxidation process never stops, and as it's burning out, it gets chalky gray, and you can scrape it with your fingernail. And most of the, let's say, silicone-based products, what they do is, as long as those impurities are wet, it looks good. As long as it's damp, it hides, it masks. It's like a Band-Aid. It hides the oxidation, but it doesn't remove the oxidation. So when you're looking at it, you see some cars like a Saturn and of course the Avalanches and the Elements. Yeah. It has a poorly made plastic with a lot of impurities, and it grays, it oxidizes quicker, because the impurities burn out quicker. You get the nicer BMWs, Mercedes-Benz. It's a harder, more dense, and more pure plastic. It eventually will start oxidizing, but it's a little bit different than let's say, the textured Saturn plastic. So keep in mind is that the better the plastic, the less oxidation, but the more oxidation, the more you have these microscopic pores that are created, and that is what the problem is. The deeper it goes, the more oxidations, because it's getting deeper into the impurities.
So all these silicone-based products aren't treating the real problem of what's actually going on in the bumper.
Well, I don't want guys to think that I'm bashing any product. I mean, I use and still use silicone-based products. Silicone is probably the most important single product in the auto care industry, including trim restoration and coatings and different trim products. But here's what happens is that silicone itself actually accelerates that oxidation process that I was talking about. What happens is silicone, when it starts gassing off, it creates a hydroperoxide gas at the surface level of the part being treated. And that gas is actually what causes oxidation. So here's what happens. A guy has a bumper that's gray and oxidized, and it's getting worse by the week. They put on a silicone-based product, wipe it on, as long as it's wet, as long as it has that wet look, it looks good. But the whole time that it's starting to gas off, in other words, it's wearing off, heat radiation, the weather conditions start breaking it down. Well, it creates this hydroperoxide gas that creates more oxidation. So then a couple weeks later, it's not only back to oxidized look and gray, but it's worse than it looked in the first place. I have on my roof at my building, I have hundreds of bumpers, running boards, quarter panels, tonneau covers. I have everything that I can get my hands on of every make and model out there, and I get them from body shops. They save them for me. So when I get those, they're usually in pretty good condition. They're black. They're black and gray. They look good because it's just an accident. They're not taking it off because of the oxidation. It's because of an accident. Well, a black bumper doesn't do me any good. So what I do, and I don't want to wait. I'm not very patient. I don't want to wait. So what I do is I take my Hudson sprayer. I put in linseed oil, and I put in liquid copying machine silicone. It's an industrial silicone liquid. I put it together, and I take the Hudson sprayer, and I saturate all the parts and pieces up on the roof. And what it does is it accelerates that process. I get oxidized bumpers much quicker than if I just left them out in the sun. And you can see places where I missed, and it's not as gray as the ones that were saturated with the silicone. Silicone's really important, and you really need it. It's quick, it's easy, it's a nice coating, but it's still a Band-Aid, and ultimately it affects the appearance of the plastic because it creates that oxidation.
So all bumpers, all plastic on any car is eventually going to fade out, correct?
Correct.
Just, if you have a cheaper car, they're probably going to use a cheaper plastic, and it's going to fade out sooner than a higher end car.
Sure, and the evidence of that is, let's say, an Avalanche. That's all the guys that are in the trim product world. That's our poster child, because it's got all the big cladding on the sides, like 2004s and 5s. The whole thing is plastic.
So much plastic to put trim protectant on.
But the plastic, yeah, it's true. Well, in the plastic, all comes from different manufacturers. There's 5 manufacturers that supply Chevy with the Avalanche plastic, in those days. The bumpers are different than the cap rails, and the cap rails are different than the cab extension, and you can see that it all is oxidizing in different at different levels, and you can tell that, like the back cap on the tailgate, the back cap, it looks like a little almost like a little rudder, and it stays black for the longest time. Everything else is turning gray. That one is the last to turn gray, because it's such a high quality, hard plastic that they're using for the wear and tear that it gets on the tailgate. And then you have other companies, other manufacturers, that they put a sealer over the top of the plastic so it doesn't oxidize as quick. But it's the hardest thing to restore because it still has those microscopic that microscopic coating of sealer on it that's really hard to penetrate. And in those cases, that's why silicone-based products are the best, because it just masks it. It just hides it.
Okay. So I think that it was a great explanation, and I would venture to say that most detailers don't know why. They don't know why plastic oxidizes. They just know it does. And so I think that bit of information of why the the bumpers and the plastics are going to oxidize is, again, just for the knowledge bank inside these guys' heads that they can then explain to their customers, and then explain to their customers how they can fix it. And so let's get into that. Let's get into your product and tell us maybe that first time that you got the right mixture, the drum wasn't melting anymore, and you finally got the right mixture that worked. Kind of what was that like for you in that moment, and then tell us about the product.
Well, actually, you're right. There was that moment that I shook the bottle up, I applied it to a sponge, and I wiped it on one of my test pieces, and then I wiped off all the excess surface oil, and I looked at it, and I felt it. It was dry. It was deep, rich black, because what I accomplished is this. I had three things that Solution Finish needed to do. One, it had to be solvent-based so that it would dissolve the existing oxidation. I didn't want to mask it. I had to remove it. So it had to be strong enough to take that off, clean out the pores, and take off the oxidation and the impurities. Number two, it had to have, through modified and penetrating oils, it needed to draw my milled carbon into the part being treated. And then lastly, what I needed with antioxidants and light stabilizers, I needed it to be able to protect the part that was treated with UV protection. So that's what Solution Finish does. It dissolves the existing oxidation, puts the color back into the part being treated, and then with the antioxidants and light stabilizers, gives it the best UV protection on the market. And at that moment that the formula was right, we cut the piece and we took it down to UCLA to a lab guy I work with, and they have this spectrometer microscope that is incredible. And we were able to magnify oxidized plastic 50,000 times. And when you do that, you look at it, looks like Mars. It's little craters of pores. These pores are deep and they look like the Rocky Mountains, but it's smooth to the touch. Well, what happens is silicone, the molecules are too big, we'll call it, to get down into those pores. It's a coating. It goes over the top. Well, what I saw when he finally adjusted it and focused it, you can see that Solution Finish was down into the pores. It was a little pigment lake of carbon and oils that filled up those pores with a nice coating over the top of it. And that's when I knew that the formula was right. When I was able to, because what I've done with the carbon is I've milled it 7 times. I needed to mill it 7 times to make it smaller than a virus. So it would able to be drawn in with the modified oils and get into those pores. So that was the time. That's when I smiled and I high-fived and I said, I think we've got it. And since then, I launched 3 years ago at SEMA, and since then I've made 2 minor adjustments with the formula, and we are just only getting better. I want longer durability. I want it to maintain a protection, because now I got the right look.
Right.
It's the right look, but now we want ultimate protection, something that's going to change everything.
Okay. So we have a doled out bumper, and as the product is applied, it's actually drawing, just to be clear, it's drawing the oxidation out, but yet filling those pores with Solution Finish. It's
Solution Finish is a solvent base, so it dissolves the oxidation.
Okay.
And then draws the carbon into the part being treated. Because everything, plastic, vinyl, and rubber, anything black in those 3 categories, especially on your vehicle, hoses, tires, doesn't matter. The color that those parts have is given by a mixture of a black PBK6 carbon. It's the carbon is what gives it that uniform black color. And when you're talking about it burning off at the top, well, the reason it stays gray and doesn't look as good is because the impurities turn gray, but yet it's lessening that carbon that's not even any longer on the part. That's why you see the tiger stripes on the side of a vehicle. That black carbon is starting to burn out with the impurities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So how, for someone who hasn't had any experience with it, how hard or how easy is it to apply this product to a bumper?
Wipe it on, wipe it off. Use a small amount of solution finish. I'll say shake the bottle well, put a small amount on a microfiber sponge, wipe it on, finish the whole vehicle, and then here's the key: is you take a microfiber towel and you wipe off all of the excess surface oil. Just buff it off, and now what it looks like, it's got that matte finish. It's got that new or well-maintained look. It doesn't look like it's been dressed. It just looks like it came out of the factory, or that you've been maintaining a 15-year-old car. The bumpers looked and the plastic looks new again, without actually needing to paint it or to replace the part. So it's really, the key is wipe it on, wipe it off.
And I used your product on a Ford F-350 on all the bumpers and the running boards, and it was literally that easy. It takes a little bit more time than applying like a tire dressing, but obviously a tire dressing on a running board that's a running board that's been oxidized isn't gonna do anything. And I think it's a huge upsell for detailers to be able to offer this to their clients.
It really is. And, you talk about running boards, solution finish does not have that oily feel to it. Therefore, and it's a matte finish. So running boards, step bumpers, there's no slip to it. Your foot grabs. So that's a very important part. You can't put silicone-based product on running boards or any places where you're going to be apt to slip. It just doesn't work that way.
I laughed because before I started my own business, and I'll admit, even the first few years that I was in my business, I used to dress running boards. And one time I had a Toyota 4Runner, and I dressed the running boards, and then I had just cleaned my car, dressed the running boards. I think I just put like Armor All on it or something like that. Sure. And went and picked up my grandma, and she went to go get into the car. And
not grandma.
Yeah, we almost lost her.
No.
But luckily she didn't end up falling. But it's true. That's a good point that you brought up, that you don't have to, and I always dressed it because it looked nice, for a couple days. But I was always running into that problem, as everyone was slipping trying to get into my car.
Well, the funny part about this is in the past, guys would put on a silicone-based product, and as long as it was wet, it looked good. And you know what? My ears kind of went dead. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Wow. Strange. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. With the look that I wanted something that was going to be dry and not have that wet look. And when you put it on the running boards and a silicone base, it does two things. It will not only make it slippery, but it creates a source for all the dust and all the dirt and everything to collect on it, which even adds another layer of problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if someone, say, I don't know why they would do this, because it honestly, after you apply the solution finish, it just looks so good. I don't know why you would want to do this, but if someone wanted to add shine, you probably wouldn't recommend it, but could they put some sort of, I don't know if they would use a tire shine, but a trim protectant over the restored bumper just for shine?
Guys restore the color to a part being treated. And then let's say their customer comes back, they don't need to restore it again. And like I always offered the suggestion of McGuire's D4510, a vinyl and plastic spray. It's a silicone-based product, and it's petroleum-based and propellant, and they just wipe it over the top of a solution finish, and they give it a nice, quick detail, nice shine to it. Okay. Sure, it's silicone, but you have the solution finish protection underneath. And I've used Forever Black, Black Again, Black Wow, Back to Black over the top of vehicles that have been already restored. The funny part about this, I go back 4 years in all my notes on all the products that were out there, and bar none, nobody talked about a product being a trim restorer. They were all coatings and trim, conditioners, but nobody talked about restoring. Now I look, and everybody that has the same product that they did 3 years ago, they're saying that theirs is a trim restorer and leave it on so it absorbs into the part. Well, none of that is true. There's a big difference between a restorer and a coating. Okay. And if you look, we could talk for 2 hours on the science behind it, but really all of those coatings that are out there are well suited to go over the top of a solution finish to give it a wet look, because contrary to belief, some people really like that look. They like it to be shiny. Right. They like it to be have that look, that Armor All look, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Silicone does not hurt solution finish. Okay. Like for instance, solution finish does not go onto tires. It has to do with the way the tires are made and where they bloom and all the mechanics of it. It's just not good for it. Streaks, and it's not well suited for it. Solution finish only works on what it's supposed to. That's why if you if you get it on your paint, you wipe it off. It dries on a window on the paint. You take a little light simple clean or in a window cleaner, and it comes right off. So there's no masking involved in this. Oh, wow. It only works on what it's supposed to, and tires is not one of them.
Another time saver if you don't have to really mask everything off. That's huge. So since it is a trim restorer, how long should someone expect it to be looking new again before it, like you said, it's not going to last forever because of what makes the plastic, but about how long does the solution finish last for?
Everybody that's listening that's been around in the detailing industry, car care, they know it depends on the weather, how many cars how many times it's washed, is it inside, is it outside, all the elements out there dictate how long any coating or wax will last on a vehicle. Okay. The average for solution finish before it gets back to its original conditioning is 6 to 8 months. Wow. The average detailer is putting it on anywhere from 4 to 6 months. And the interesting thing is they have found that the first coat of solution finish, the first application, if you let it go its full cycle, when you put it on the second time, it lasts longer than the first time. So if you got 6 months out of it the first time, the second time you're going to get 7 or 8 months out of it. It just because there's no mill build, meaning it doesn't layer on top of each other, it just draws a little deeper into it. I'm not satisfied with 6 to 8 months. The average in the industry for the coatings is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. But I'm still not happy with 6 months. So, we developed our new sealer, and that's going to be coming out after SEMA, and that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, let's kind of get into as much as you can talk to. I know if you have releases at SEMA and stuff like that, which by the time this goes live, it'll all be out in the open if you're releasing stuff at SEMA. But kind of talk to us about what the future for solution finish is and how you see that impacting the detailing industry.
Actually, Jimbo, that's a good point. I really was not at liberty to talk about it until after SEMA, but now, given that it's 5 days away, and this isn't going to be aired until later, so the cat's going to be out of the bag way before then. Solution Finish developed two new products. We have our plastic cleaner, and it's just called Solution Finish Plastic Cleaner. Very catchy name, but and it's really a highly concentrated a plastic vinyl rubber cleaner, but it's guys that have tested it for the last 6 months, they say really it's an incredible all-purpose cleaner. But what it does is it dissolves the remnants of the impurities and takes off the remnants of silicone-based products. It takes off any of the impurities that would hinder Solution Finish's ability to draw into the part. But the thing that is a game changer and everybody's extremely excited about is the Solution Finish over-the-top plastic sealer. And that it's over the top because it goes over the top of Solution Finish. And 2 or 3 coats of the plastic sealer, which all you need to do is put it on a microfiber sponge, wet the part being treated. 20 minutes later, it's dry and it's bulletproof. You put on 2 more coats, 3 more coats, and it does. It gives it a nice little brand new out of the box shine to it, but it's dry. You can take a white handkerchief, put on 1 coat of the sealer over the top of Solution Finish, and scrub the part that you just treated, and it will come out as clean as it was. There's no black. There's nothing on it. It's game changing because we have between 12 or on our test pieces, we have between 12 and 14 months of durability on one part. And if we can, sell that to the detailers that are out there, because it's not going to go mainstream. It's only professional detailers, body shops, and car washes are going to be able to buy it from Solution Finish. And we're going to keep that in the toolbox of all the detailers so that as an upsell, they can say, look, we can restore your plastic bumpers to a new-like condition, and we'll guarantee it for over a year.
Wow. And
that gives the guys something. And, the DIY guys, the enthusiasts, they're going to be able to buy Solution Finish online, AutoGeek, Detailing.com, Detailed Imaged, all the ones that we know and love, but they're going to have to go to a special site to be able to buy the sealer, because it's kind of like the coatings. We're leaving the professional, it's a professional product that nobody else can acquire through the internet.
This is huge, and kind of going back to just not only for detailers separating themselves from other detailers in their industry, but also elevating their own game of the quality of service that they're offering to their customers, and at the same time the upsell that they can offer to their customers. I don't know how much, as far as a dollar amount, you would be able to upsell if you could restore someone's bumpers and stuff like that. I did 2 running boards and a bumper, and I charged $40, and the guy didn't even blink. So
it's true.
So I mean, I guess it's whatever you can really get for it in your market, but since no one's going to be doing it in your market, and you can tell them that you can restore it and make their car look new, not only with polishing it out and all that good stuff, but if you polish out a car and say you do a full paint correction and it looks great, but their bumpers are gray still, you're going to get that.
For those listening, I can tell you I have posters that we make available to the professionals. They can go on Facebook. They can message me. They can email me, and I'll be gladly to send out a Solution Finish poster. But it has 3 vehicles on it. It's very, very classy. Guys put them on A-frames. They put them on the shop walls. They put them on their van doors. But it has 3 vehicles: a small SUV, a medium SUV, and then the full Avalanche, and it says small, medium, and large. And then off the side, it has a space that guys can write in their prices. the industry average for a small vehicle for an upsell with your full detail is $65. The medium is $85, and the large vehicles is $125 and up.
Wow.
And they've always used Solution Finish, and people are excited about it. But there's one question that they can't answer and be really 100% accurate: is how long is it going to last? Now they can look their client in the eye and say, you know what, I will personally guarantee this for a year. If it starts looking faded in any way in the next year, you bring it back to me and I'll recode it for free, which takes all but 20 minutes. So it's not like, a guy's got to spend 6 hours of his day redoing it. But at the same time, you give them that extra sales tool to put in their box.
Exactly. So if someone wants to get some of Solution Finish or the new sealer or the all-purpose cleaner, the plastic cleaner, how can they get it?
Well, the Solution Finish plastic sealer and Solution Finish itself in the 1 ounce or 12 ounce bottles you can go to our website, www.solutionfinish.com, and it has a list of distributors and online vendors. After the first of the year, we're launching trimrestore.com, and that's where all the professionals are going to be able to go to our site and be able to get register and be able to buy some of the products like Odor Aid, some of our Bright Max products, and they'll be able to get the special login to be able to buy something that it's not open for the general public. So, I will be doing a massive marketing campaign for Trim Restore. So nobody in the industry, with my 14,200 detailers on my database, their chances are very, very good I'm going to be in their face with it.
Awesome. And if someone listening wants to connect with you personally, how can they do that?
They can call my cell phone at 714-307-8780 or email me at Chris with a C, Chris@solutionfinish.com. And I look forward to the calls. I talk to 5 or 6 guys every single day, 7 days a week. So feel free, if you have any issues, you have any problems, you have any questions, you're concerned about a special application, there's something that you see that you haven't seen before, give me a call and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible if I don't actually pick up the phone.
Awesome, Chris. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show. I honestly think Solution Finish is a game changer, and I personally used it myself. So
Appreciate that.
I know how good it is. So, guys, head on over to solutionfinish.com, get yourself some, and if you want any of those contacts details, you could just head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com/Chris West, and we'll get you all taken care of there as well. All right, thanks, Chris, for coming on.
It's been a real pleasure. I hope I haven't bored your listeners to death, but you've been a real gentleman. I appreciate it.
Another huge thank you to Chris for taking the time to just meet with me on the podcast. We were going to try to get together in person, but the timing schedules just didn't work out. He actually lives just right down the road from me, but we just couldn't quite get it together. But Skype works great. And he was nice enough to give me some product to sample, even though I've already bought some and I know how phenomenal it is. Guys, if you're looking for a better trim restorer, there is literally nothing better on the market than this. And like he talked about in the interview, it's a restorer. It's not a cover-up. It's not anything. It literally kills all the oxidation in the bumper and just disintegrates it. And I'm telling you, I'll put up some pictures on the Facebook page, facebook.com/autodetailingpodcast. I'll put up some pictures on how phenomenal this product is and how, when I tested it, what it was like. But all you got to do is do a simple Google search. Just type in Solution Finish, look at the images, and it's insane. Chris is an awesome guy. He was nice enough to throw out a cell phone number there too. So if you have any questions, you can connect with him. That's probably the fastest way. But he literally makes a phenomenal product. And then with the release of the all-purpose cleaner, or the plastic cleaner that he came out with, and now the sealer, and he's guaranteeing at least 12 months of protection of the bumper looking brand new. This is a huge upsell for your customers. This is going to elevate your detail game, and this is awesome. So again, I just want to thank you for listening. Thanks to Chris for taking the time. And if you guys could, please leave a rating and review in iTunes. You can find the link at autodetailingpodcast.com. And again, just head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com. We're going to have links for Chris's product, and we're going to have links for a bunch of different stuff to really help you guys and elevate your game to the next level. So again, support him, help support the show, and keep all these good interviews coming. See you next time.